literacy, language development, and struggling readers during childhood, elementary schools, and of course among adults. Today we will present an intervention study that we examined together, all three of us. So if I can share my presentation, please. Thank you. Okay, so we examined the effect of vocabulary and morphological awareness intervention among students, not students, but kindergarten children, which we can also call students, from low socioeconomic background. So why focus at all at language? Because language is the basis of reading. But why reading? Why do we need reading? So we need reading in order to learn new subject domain. Can we think even about something that do not involve reading in the modern life? I think we cannot manage without it. So this is the reason reading achievement predict success in other subject areas as well. So as the children's book author stated, the more that you read, the more things you will know. The more that you learn, the more places you will go. So reading actually starts with language comprehension. Language comprehension composes from vocabulary knowledge, for example, the structure of words, syntax, grammar, listening comprehension, all of this includes in our background knowledge. And we use this when we read also. But it's not enough. According to the simple view of reading, we also need to decode words, to be able to translate the written form of words into spoken words. And together, language comprehension and word recognition intertwine together for the purpose of reading comprehension, where later on, for the purpose of learning as well. So if children, the children that are raised in poor socioeconomic environment are also often exhibit or show poor language comprehension abilities. So this is the reason why we focused, our research focused on this population, because we wanted to enhance their language comprehension abilities and to provide them more opportunities, learning opportunities that will ensure, or maybe not to ensure, but increase their chances to develop reading skills, proper reading skills. So our intervention, as I mentioned, was focused on morphological awareness, which I explain in a minute what it means, and vocabulary knowledge, which are the core basis of language comprehension. But we also examined print concept and narrative abilities. And the reason we did it is because we believe that by cultivating or enriching morphological awareness and vocabulary knowledge, there will be a transfer effect to other linguistic domains as well. So what is morphological awareness? Let's think of this word, for example. This word, complex word, can be broken into three linguistic elements. Each linguistic element is called morpheme, and it has its unique meaning. If we store these morphemes or elements of meaning, small elements of meaning in our memory, in our long-term memory, or what we call mental lexicon, then we can use it not only to understand this word, but to understand other words as well. Even if we will encounter new words during our reading, we will be able to break it down, to decompose them, and reach the meaning of each part of the word. So this is why also morphological awareness is known to be related to vocabulary. If one have a vocabulary knowledge, he's more sensitive to the structure of words, and vice versa. If I'm familiar or aware of the structure of words, it will be easier for me to enlarge my vocabulary knowledge. And so both vocabulary and morphological awareness are correlated with literacy skills. So if I have a better vocabulary knowledge and morphological awareness, I will be also probably be a better reader and comprehend better what I read. Print concept, which I remind you, we did not focus on print concept, but we examined this, is the understanding of convention of print as presented in books. So we are talking about some terms and knowledge the children gain just from interactive around stories and print that make them understand that the writing system actually represents spoken words. And this will be correlated with their reading acquisition later on. And the last thing we also did not focus on, but examined, is the narrative ability. What is narrative ability? Basically, is the ability to tell a story. So it sounds very simple, but actually it's very, very complex, because in order to tell a story, we need to be familiar with the structure of a story. We also have this mental representation of this structure. And inside this structure, we implement a series of action and events that have logical connection between them. And we also use a complex grammatical and semantical knowledge building this narrative. So this also correlates with reading comprehension, because most texts that children read, of course, is according to this structure. So this is why research show that narrative ability is crucial for academic success, not only to tell a story, but of course to a wider range of skills. So as I said before, by cultivating the vocabulary, but mainly morphological awareness, we wanted to check whether there is a transfer effect. Transfer effect means whether there is a shift, an improvement to other linguistic domain as well, because all language comprehension abilities are correlated with each other. So if we improve one, we also assume that other abilities will improve as well. And again, why children from low socioeconomic background? Because they have limited exposure to books and discourse, and therefore they are at a greater risk to develop reading skills. So we asked in the research, what is the contribution of our intervention program, the targeted vocabulary and morphological awareness abilities? But what are the differences in this regard between the intervention and comparison group? Well, I have to say that the comparison group also worked on something, right? There are studies in the kindergarten according to the kindergarten curriculum. They also exposed to stories. So of course, we would expect them to improve their achievement as well in all the examined language abilities. But we postulated that the intervention group, which focused and learned methodically the vocabulary and morphological awareness, which are not deliberately taught in the kindergarten sessions, will show a greater progress. The second question relates to the transfer effect. Whether and to what extent the increase in vocabulary and morphological awareness ability will also reflect it in kindergarten print concept and narrative abilities, in which we didn't focus in our intervention, but of course it was present there during the work around stories. So the study design was pre-post design. That means we examined children before and after the intervention, and of course the comparison group as well. The assigned to the intervention or the comparison was random, and the intervention group took part at a short oral interactive storybook reading, followed by games and activities, targeted vocabulary and morphological awareness, and the comparison group continued with the regular curriculum delivered in kindergarten.
Hi, I will continue from here. And let's talk about the participants. We had 193 Hebrew-speaking children aged 5.5 to 6.5 who participated in the study. 128 children were assigned to the intervention group and the other 65 to the comparison group. All children came from 13 different kindergartens in a town in North Israel and were from low SES backgrounds. But we used 4 tests to examine language comprehension. The first, expressive vocabulary test, was designed to measure knowledge of words. We had 4 nouns, 4 verbs, and 2 adjectives. All the words were targeted by the intervention program and retrieved from the stories used in the interactive reading session. The second test was morphological awareness test. It consisted of 2 parts of derivation. The first part, derivation of verbs from noun. For example, you can see the noun na'al, which means a shoe, and the verb noel, which means put on. The second part, derivation of verbs in different patterns. For example, you can see the child ochel, which means eating, and the father ma'achil, which means feeding. The third test was the print concept, which contained questions about onset of reading, print directionality, and written language units like letters, sentences, and paragraphs. The fourth test examined narrative ability. Children were asked to tell a story based on pictures in a book. The story was coded for opening, structure, syntax conjunctions, expansions, and syntax complexity. We gave 5 points for each part, with a maximum score of 30. As I mentioned, kindergartens were tested in all 4 tests that were previously showed at 2 time points. The first before the intervention, which means T1, and the second 4 months later after the intervention ended, and T2. All tests were delivered by using oral and social games that resemble daily life learning in kindergarten to make sure that it's not it's easy for the kids to understand and to complete them. The intervention included 12 small group sessions. Each lasted for around 40 minutes. 4 sessions were designed for each one of the 3 books that were chosen to the intervention program. Each session consisted of oral interactive storybook reading and 2 games designed to enhance both vocabulary and morphological awareness. The intervention was delivered by 25 third-year undergraduate students as part of their community project, and the comparison group followed the conventional kindergarten curriculum. Here are 2 examples that were used in the intervention, 2 games that were used in the intervention. On the right picture, you can see one of the vocabulary games. In this game, pictures were hidden inside the ball. Each child, in his turn, received the ball and was asked to discover one picture, to take it out of the ball. Then he looked at the picture and was asked to describe it to the rest of the group. The child could choose to use pantomime or a word definition to explain a specific word appeared in his picture. The other children were asked to name the word, and then they were presented with the pictures to see if they were corrected. When the child finished his turn, he was asked to throw the ball to another child who was asked to discover a new word hidden inside the ball. Now let's look at the results. All measures were calculated in terms of percent of change. At the beginning, before the liver and the intervention, the two groups were similar in their language comprehension scores, and no significant differences were found in gender. Regarding the effect of the intervention, we can see in the diagram that both groups showed improvement from T1 before the intervention to T2 after the intervention in both vocabulary and morphological awareness. Additionally, this improvement also shifted to print concept and narrative ability. The intervention group showed larger improvements than the comparison group in all measures. That is, a significant interaction between time and group in all measures was found. Note that as we thought in the beginning, although the intervention focused on vocabulary and morphological awareness, children showed impressive improvement, particularly in their narrative ability, suggesting a transfer effect that we explained about it before. So now about the discussion. We saw that a short-term structured oral interactive storybook reading intervention focused on vocabulary and morphological awareness can rapidly improve disabilities among children from low SES backgrounds. In addition, a vocabulary morphological awareness intervention impacts not only the targeted linguistic aspect, but also narrative and print concept, the transfer effect. And this happened before children formally learn to read. This finding pinpoint to the central role of both aspects in literacy development and its effect on other linguistic domains. We have some educational implication. We saw that students of education can meaningfully contribute to the community and might even assist in closing literacy gaps among kindergarteners with a minimal investment of economic resources. We also saw that such programs may open future literacy-related learning opportunities for children from low SES backgrounds. To sum, we can talk about some recommendations for educational implication. To integrate vocabulary and morphological awareness as part of the kindergarten curriculum. To design a well-structured program in line with children's abilities. To implement the program in children's natural environment using interactive storybook reading and language games. And to encourage children to actively participate and be engaged in oral activities. We think that for the purpose of building a better this is important for building a better infrastructure for reading. Thank you.
Other questions?
But Yaakov, do we have time for questions? Let's see.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, maybe one, because we want to leave some, maybe 2 or 3 minutes for break between the sessions also.
Okay.
So I got one in the chat, Vered.
Yes, can you read it? Because it will take time for me to find it. Where is it?
What if a child couldn't guess the words directly, but instead used a substitution strategy that is describing them with different words, was it considered a valid response?
Oh, this is a good one. It depends on the test we use, but I believe that we use the Tavor test, which if he described the word, then he gets 1 point. If he only described the use of the word, so he gets 1 point, and if he give the full answer, he will get 2 points. Yeah, so a good one. It's a good question. Yes. So the answer is yes.